Good morning. We have a super busy day today. We are doing a huge freezer meal prep. I am prepping a bunch of stuff to throw in the freezer, plus some stuff for dinners this week. So I'm kind of battling two things, making sure I'm prepped for the upcoming week. We're restocking our freezer with a bunch of meals and snacks. I spent yesterday kind of planning everything out, so I have my list, I have all the recipes I'm following. Everything that has a recipe I will link down below in the description. I also did all of my grocery shopping yesterday. Someone asked me if I prefer Walmart for groceries, and no, I don't, but out where we live, the Walmart is really the only place that has a good online ordering and pickup system. The other grocery stores have it, but it's not that great. So when I do meal prep, it's easier for me to just write down all the recipes, everything we need, and shop online. There is a couple things that Walmart was out of stock, so I'm gonna have those delivered from a different store today, and we're gonna get started. I do want to thank the sponsor of today's video, and that is Earth Echo. They sent me this superfood blend that adds into your coffee. I've been drinking it for about 2 weeks now. Even my husband's been drinking it. It is so good. It is full of superfood ingredients, no added sugar. And you guys know I drink my coffee black normally. This adds such a good creaminess to it and makes black coffee much more enjoyable without the calories, without the sugar. I'm also very sensitive to caffeine, so as much as I love coffee, I actually drink half calf because it doesn't really give me energy. I just enjoy coffee. Coffee either makes me go to sleep or it makes me jittery. So what I've noticed since I started drinking the cacao bliss from them is it kind of gives me an overall clarity and motivation without the jitters. So I'm absolutely loving it, especially on days like today where we are busy meal prepping a ton of stuff. I need that extra motivation. Highly recommend it. It tastes so good. I do have a discount link down below in my description. They have a couple other products as well. They have a collagen that I really want to try, but this one is so good. It has a very light chocolate taste and creaminess to it. There's also MCT oil in here, which is really good to start your day with. Highly recommend it. And let's get into today's meal prep. We are making a ton of things. So a lot of stuff we're doing is for my kids to stock the freezer, but then also for dinners. So I'm gonna prep stuff for dinners this week, but then also double a lot of recipes so I have it in the freezer for future meals. We are going to do Greek meatballs. Greek meatballs are a little bit different. They're made with red onion and a lot of herbs. So we're going to make Greek meatballs for dinner this week, but then we're also going to freeze some. We're going to make sesame orange chicken. Same thing, I'm going to double that. We're going to have it for dinner this week and then some in the freezer. I'm going to make taquitos. I actually did that as a trial a couple weeks ago with some leftover stuff, and they were so good. So I'm going to make a ton of taquitos. I'm going to make chicken taquitos and beef taquitos, so two different ways. We're going to have that for dinner this week as well, and then have a bunch in the freezer. They're really good for a lunch or snack, and they're super high protein. We're going to make snickerdoodle cookies, but I'm not actually going to make cookies today. I'm just going to make the dough. I made these snickerdoodle cookies around Christmas time, and the dough, before you bake them, freezes so well, so you can just have cookie dough ready to go. I did them in bags of 10, I think, so 10 cookies, which when you're just craving cookies, we could pull them out, bake it, and that was perfect for our size family instead of making a whole recipe. And that actually does use sourdough starter, so that's a good sourdough recipe as well. I'm going to make pretzel bites. I've never made pretzel bites before, but I found a freezer friendly recipe so we can have a bunch of pretzel bites ready to go in the freezer. I'm going to make fried rice, which I have made before. It was really good. What I did different this time is I actually made the rice yesterday and it's in the fridge, so it's going to be a little bit drier when I make the fried rice. I'm going to make ham and cheese pockets. They're kind of a spin on ham and cheese hot pockets. I'm going to make these peanut butter bars. They're made with honey nut Cheerios. So good. And I think that's what we're doing. So full list, we're going to make over 100 snack and meal items. All right, as I was kind of starting to clean up the kitchen, I realized I'm also making Uncrustables. So I have a bunch of sandwich bread over here. So I'm going to make Uncrustables, and then I have English muffins as well that I'm going to make those sausage breakfast sandwiches that I think I've shown before. I'm also going to make those. I'm gonna start the dough right now. So I'm still it's still morning, I'm still drinking my coffee and waking up, but I am gonna start the dough for the pretzel bites and the ham and cheese hot pockets because both of those have yeast. They need a couple hours to rise. So I'm gonna get both of those started so the first rise can happen before we start everything else. All right, so I'm just making the pretzel bites. It's a single recipe. So that is the yeast, water and sugar setting for a few minutes, and then I'm doubling the hot pocket recipe, and that same thing is sitting over here. So I'm doing both of these at the same time. All right, I have both of those doughs, so I just have them resting over here. So that's for the pretzels, this is for the hot pockets. So we're gonna let that rise, and then while I have all the baking stuff out, we're gonna go ahead and do our sourdough snickerdoodle cookies because these need to sit, maybe not. Yeah, these we're just gonna mix up, roll into balls, and freeze individually before we package them up. So because I have all the baking stuff out, we're gonna go ahead and do that real quick. A lot is going on. I think it's been an hour. And so what are we doing right now? I have water starting to boil. That's gonna take a while for the pretzel bites because you have to boil them and then bake them. Both of those doughs are doing super well. They have risen very well. So this is the pretzel, that's the ham and cheese pockets. The Walmart delivery just got here. That was all the chicken thighs. For some reason, when we did our pickup order yesterday, they didn't give us any of our chicken thighs, and I ordered like 6 packs of them. So half of them I'm going to start in the Instapot now. We're gonna get that cooked, and we're gonna use that chicken for our chicken taquitos. And then once that round is done, then I'm gonna do the other chicken for the sesame orange chicken. So I'm gonna start that. That water's boiling. I'm gonna try to clean up really quick. I'm gonna get some sausage in the oven. I just have 2 rolls of sausage. I just flatten them out, make patties. That's gonna be breakfast for this morning, and this week I'm gonna make little breakfast sandwiches. That's more chicken, and then I need to do the ham and cheese hot pockets. So because the dough, we don't want it to overproof, I need to start working on that. So I need to get the cheese and the ham ready, roll those out once I get like the chicken done and all of that. So I'm glad I got all the baking out of the way. I had to clean up all that flour. So I would recommend doing, if you're doing flour recipes, get all that done. The rest of today we're really just cooking. I have the cookie dough in the fridge. So the cookie dough I just mixed up. It's a sourdough recipe. You can actually let it sit in the fridge for up to a day or 2, but I'm just gonna let that sit until I have time to roll all those balls out and then freeze them. Okay, so the chicken is in the Instapot. I'm gonna link the recipe that I'm using, but they already just say 3 cups roasted shredded chicken breast. So you could use like a rotisserie chicken, you could do whatever you want. So I'm just doing that step because I don't have the cooked chicken, and then we're gonna mix everything together. I have about 9 pounds of chicken thighs in there. That will definitely cook down. I prefer chicken thighs. The Instapot cooks them down so like all the fat gets broken down, and then they reheat, freeze much better than chicken breasts. Chicken breasts are just way too dry to do stuff like this with. So that's in the Instapot. I need to clean up this counter really quick, get our breakfast started, and then start working on the ham and cheese hot pockets. Okay, so super easy. So each sausage roll does 6 patties. So I just break it apart and smash it down. I don't add anything, don't do anything. I put them straight in the oven just like this. So I have 2 pans of that. We're gonna make 12 breakfast sandwiches for breakfast today and this week. So those are gonna cook. So starting on the ham and cheese pockets, I have made these before. So I just shredded a block of mild cheddar cheese and then diced up some deli ham. I cannot remember how I rolled out the dough, but I'm pretty much just breaking it into sections. So I took half the dough and then broke half of it into 8 little dough balls and rolled that out. They are not uniform. They are not perfect. I think the most important thing is making sure they can fold over and seal, and these do puff up really big. So I think last time I wanted to make them half the size, but I forgot. And also I didn't have enough of the ham and cheese filling, so I did have to do some pizza type ones as well. In hindsight, I don't know if having both the doughs ready to go at exactly the same time was the best thing. You don't want your dough to overproof. So right after I got done with the ham and cheese buckets, I had to start the pretzels. These
it's a lot easier because you just roll them out into like ropes and cut them into bite-sized pieces. These actually do puff up a lot bigger than I thought they were going to, so I probably would have made my cuts a tad bit smaller, but these are much easier. So if you want to do either the ham and cheese pockets or the pretzels, I would definitely do the pretzels. I'm actually kicking myself in the butt. I didn't make more because they turned out so good and they were a lot easier to make. This was my first time making pretzel bites or any really kind of pretzel, but it did remind me of a similar process of making bagels where you do boil the dough first and then bake it. For the pretzels, you do it in baking soda water. I did not measure the water to baking soda ratio. So the only thing that I thought was a little odd is the pretzels didn't brown how you would expect a pretzel to brown. So I'm gonna play around with it, but the taste is spot on. So they taste really good. I used my broiler on like the second batch to try to get a little bit darker of a color, but that could have either been, I don't know, the baking soda ratio or the egg wash. I think I just used an egg yolk and water. So I may research that, or if you know in the comments a little bit more how to get that real brown color on pretzels, that would be great. Also, I did not get like rock salt, which would have been so much better. I just used normal like Himalayan pink salt, table salt. It didn't stick the best. And you know, when you want a pretzel, you want like those chunks of salt. So I would probably do that, but I could always just, when I pull these out of the freezer, I'm probably going to put some water on top of them and then I'll probably sprinkle some rock salt on them. And I think that will be good. But I'm telling you, these have the exact taste when you think of a pretzel bite. These have it. The recipe I'm linking comes with like a jalapeno cheddar. I don't know if it's freezer friendly, but I'm also going to link another cheese sauce that's specifically meant to go in the freezer. I didn't have the patience or time to make cheese sauce in this meal prep, but I did find that recipe. So we just have the like jarred cheese sauce that we'll use, but possibly my next freezer meal prep, I'm going to double or triple the pretzel bites recipe so I can really stock the freezer with them because I just know these are going to be a great snack to have. And it feels like we are running a marathon today. So I just took the cookie dough out of the freezer. This one is nice because it mixes up super easy and then you really can let it sit in the fridge until you have time to do it. So just taking them out, putting it in the fridge also does help harden up the dough a little bit so it's not as sticky. Before I put it in the fridge, it was a little sticky, so it would have been hard to roll. But other than that, I'm just rolling the dough balls. You roll them in a cinnamon sugar topping, and you can put them very close on your tray because you're not baking them. You're going to freeze them exactly like this. So I'm going to flash freeze them, which means I'll put them in the freezer just like this until they are frozen enough, and then I can put them in bags together. When you bake them, you do need to space them out because they will spread. They are a cookie. Perfect. These taste, so when I made them last time, I actually cooked a batch and then froze them. When I remade the frozen ones, they tasted just like the fresh ones that I had made. This uses a lot of sourdough starter, so I doubled this recipe to make about 50 cookies, and that was a whole cup of sourdough discard, and they taste so good. I think you can leave the dough in the fridge for up to 3 days for it to really ferment and get more of maybe a sour flavor and to break down the gluten if that works for you. So just a side note, but this recipe, I do follow it to a T and it works extremely well. And here is a little check in of everything that we've done so far. So the ham and cheese pockets are done and cooling. The pizza ones, which is just pizza sauce and mozzarella cheese, all those pretzel bites. So good. So I'm just kind of swapping everything out. I only have one cooling rack, so I'm kind of swapping it all out. I had to use my dining room table to have everything laid out, but the ham and cheese pockets look exactly how they looked last time I made them. They're so good. The sausage patties, we had some for breakfast, some will go in the fridge. All of the cookie dough balls that I will flash freeze. My son was eating pretzel bites. He said they were great.
It has been a whirlwind already, so that was a lot. And I would not recommend, if this is your first time doing a big freezer meal prep, don't do as much as I'm doing. go to my last freezer prep huge video. It was a little bit easier, or just pick half of what I'm doing today. But anyways, I'm down in my office because I'm just kind of swapping stuff out. I need a lot of stuff to like kind of flash freeze, and what I mean by that is I have it laid out on like a baking pan and everything is freezing individually. So right now I have the cookie dough balls and the pretzel bites, because once they freeze individually you can throw them all in a bag together and they won't get stuck together. Those two things are doing that. It shouldn't take more than an hour. You don't need them 100% frozen. And then I'm going to bag them individually. And so what I want to do is I have a little bit more than 50 balls of cookie dough, so I'm going to put them in bags of 10. And I have these labels that I got, so they stick on the Ziploc bags. So I'm going to take a break, fill these out so I know how long to rebake them. So I'm going to put like what temperature for how long for this, the pretzel bites. I think those are what I'm going to label. Everything else I kind of know, but at least those two, the kids can take the pretzel bites out, they can bake cookies. I travel for work sometimes, so it'll be nice for them to be able to have that kind of stuff. And then the chicken's done from the Instapot. I just shredded it up really quick, and then I'm going to start the taquitos, but those are going to need to be frozen. The ham and cheese and the pizza pockets also need to be flash frozen. So I'm just going to kind of start swapping some stuff out, the motions. So I'm going to take a break, fill these out, and then we'll start our next little marathon of meal prep. All right, so I got the mixture ready for these. It's in this big bowl, and I have all my tortillas, but I don't have a baking dish to roll them and freeze them on, so I'm going to pause this and start the fried rice. So I'm melting butter. I'm going to cook it in 2 batches, so I'm doing like a double recipe. So I'm going to cook basically it twice because I don't have a big enough pot and it doesn't cook well in a big enough pot. So I'm going to start cooking the eggs, set those aside, do half the rice, all of this, and get this going.
So instead of doing like the rice together itself, I actually did like the ingredients on their own. So I cooked all the eggs, split them between 2 pans. Now I'm cooking all the veggies. I'll split those in the 2 pans, and then I did all the rice together and then just split it into the 2 pans, and that worked really well. Last time I froze the rice in gallon size bags, which I would honestly probably do again. I like the bags. They're easier to move around, store than these foil pans, but this was actually easier in doing it. But look at this rice. So good. You can really control what ingredients are in here, what seasonings. I did use like the fried rice seasoning mix, but I honestly don't feel like it really does that much compared to just using your own spices. So this is a really good one, and I do recommend cooking the rice the day ahead and letting it sit in the fridge overnight. I do want to be completely transparent that this is like the messiest thing ever. My kitchen gets destroyed. There are so many dishes, so much stuff. So I think I'm pausing and I have to get everything cleaned up and reset for the next round. After cleaning up, I also got these bagged up, the snickerdoodle cookies and the pretzel bites. So I have the labels on the bag, some instructions, and look how awesome these are. My freezer is going to be stocked.
All right, it is a couple hours, I think, since I did the last update. I took a little bit of a break. I ate some of the fried rice. That was like my lunch. Super good. I just got done rolling all the taquitos. So I think I have 32 is what I ended up with. Now the recipe I followed said it would make 30 taquitos, but I doubled it, but I stuffed these. So these are much bigger. I think these are soft taco size. I think the street taco size, if you would have used those, they would be more like the frozen taquitos you buy in the freezer section, where they're a lot smaller. Those I can eat like 4 or 5 of. These I could probably eat 2 of. They're packed full of the mixture. So I have 32 taquitos. I'm gonna bake them real quick. So they do bake, but the chicken and stuff is like the chicken's already cooked. So I'm gonna bake them to crisp them up a little bit, flash freeze them, and then put them in bags. So this will be something we eat for dinner this week. And then we'll have them in the rest of them in the freezer. We can heat them up for lunch. We could even really easily turn this into enchiladas. So I'm gonna go and throw these in the oven, and then we're gonna start something else. 4 things left to make. Sesame orange chicken, I think I'm gonna make that now because that just needs to cook in the Instapot. And that is gonna go, half of it's gonna go in the freezer, half of it's gonna go in the fridge for dinner this week. I'm making sesame orange chicken bowls. This is a recipe from Safe at Mom. Basically, you just make the chicken and then you serve it over rice and edamame. High protein. I love it. I've made it 100 times. You use like concentrated orange juice and tomato paste and a lot of seasoning. So I'm going to get that going, and then from there I'm going to make the no bake peanut butter Cheerio bars. I'm gonna do like a version of this recipe. So this recipe that I'm gonna link below uses white sugar and corn syrup. I'm not using that. It also uses plain Cheerios. I'm using honey nut Cheerios. So I'm gonna use honey nut Cheerios and honey and peanut butter. And that's how I'm gonna make them. So making them a little bit like healthier with not like added sugar. I'm using honey instead. So I'm gonna make those, and then the Greek meatballs, that's what we're having for dinner tonight. So that's kind of why I've been holding that to the last, because I would just rather do it when I make dinner. And I'm gonna make like a Mediterranean salad with that, which I will show you guys. The Mediterranean salad you can't really make ahead. Like cucumbers don't store well. It's like tomatoes, cucumbers, onions, feta cheese. That only lasts a couple days, so you can't really prep that. And then I have the uncrustables to make too, but I think we're doing good. So I'm gonna get the sesame orange chicken in the Instapot, and then we're gonna make the peanut butter bars. My kids really want these. My kids and husband just went out. They're gonna go take a walk. It's so nice outside. It's almost 50, I think, outside, and so they're gonna go walk around. All the snow's melted, and we have like this huge open land by our house. There's like a bunch of trees and stuff, so they're gonna go see that. We always see like bunnies and quail in there. So they want the peanut butter bars when they get back. So that will be the next thing that we make. I also want to say this is like a marathon. So like I've been planning for something this big for months. I only do something this big as far as like meal prep once every few months. It takes a lot. I am in the kitchen all day. There's dishes that have to get done. You have to buy a lot of food. You have to prepare a lot, but it is so nice having a stock of things. It really does like change over the week. One, having some of the dinner stuff prepared, but then having a freezer stocked of stuff the kids can have. It's literally game changing. And I do, even though obviously I'm tired, I've been in here for about 4 or 5 hours already. That cacao bliss really does like keep me going. It gives me good, steady energy, no crash, no jitters, none of that. So let's get our meal prep continued on. All right, so the chicken thighs are in there. I just poured the sauce on there, which is a bunch of Asian seasonings: ginger, red chili flakes, soy sauce, tomato paste, honey, garlic, onion, and orange juice concentrate. This recipe does work better doing it as a slow cooker recipe. The Instapot, it's too liquidy, so it's not as thick of a good sauce, the orange sauce. So I'm actually going to do this on the slow cooker on high for 4 hours. So this will just be cooking. I'll bag it up. I'm going to freeze half, and then we'll have the other half for dinner this week.
I am now doing the Cheerio bars. I will say I can't remember what I did last time to the recipe, but these bars did not stay together well. One, because I'm not following like I think enough sugar or corn syrup. So follow the recipe if you want them to actually turn into bars. I had to end up melting some marshmallows and butter and like pouring that over to make more of like a Rice Krispie. I'll have to play around with it more and let you know what adjustments I make. I may have used like maple syrup last time too, but either way, they taste delicious. So didn't get any complaints about them. They were just fine. I put them in the fridge and that did harden them up a little bit more. Moving on to the Greek meatballs. So I actually decided after cooking all day that I did not want to have dinner. I was a little full from just like tasting everything, and this is like a really healthy type meal, so I like to eat this more when we're just like having a really good eating day. But I will link these Greek meatball recipes. They're really unique from like a traditional Italian meatball because you grate the red onion and that's like built into the base of the meatball, and you use a lot of herbs. Fresh is always best. I decided to just use like freeze dried parsley, garlic, I have this like Greek seasoning mix that I used in there. They still ended up tasting great. If you're making these not to freeze, the recipe does say to roll them in like flour and then kind of like pan fry them. It makes this like crunch on the meatball, which is really good. It reminds me of like the meat you would get in like a gyro. So just keep that in mind. I don't do that when I'm going to freeze them, but they still do harden up more than a normal meatball. So just remember the onion, lots of good spices is the key to these. And then I normally serve these with like a tzatziki sauce, which is just yogurt, lemon, cucumber, and garlic. Super, super easy to make, but it doesn't sit well. I would definitely make that like the same day. For the meatballs, I do like to bake them before I freeze them. I just feel like that works better, and I don't flash freeze the meatballs. I just throw them all into the bag because I do defrost them in the fridge before baking them again or warming them back up. So just a side note, those ones, I don't care if they stick together because once they defrost, they'll come apart. Now moving on to uncrustables. These are actually super easy to make, but I like to make a lot at a time, so it just takes time. These are way cheaper making them yourselves and way more customizable. My son only likes jelly on his sandwiches. He does not like peanut butter. And so I can't find jelly only Uncrustables. So I can make that. I can control what jelly goes in there. I am using up this Welch's one that I had, but we actually have a bunch of jars of homemade jam I made. And so I will switch to using that once we run out of the Welch's. I try to keep everything right in the middle for when I push them down because I do save all of the crust. I use that to either make breadcrumbs or like a French toast casserole. So that's why I'm not spreading it out because I don't want jelly like all over the crust or to come out of the sides. This works the best, especially because you're freezing them, defrosting them. The jelly ends up working itself throughout the little circle of the sandwich.
All the sandwiches are done. Here's all the leftover crust, which I'm just gonna freeze. I'm not gonna do anything right now. I'll probably use it for more breadcrumbs or French toast, but I'm just gonna freeze that. Here's 20 peanut butter and jelly Uncrustables. 2 more hours left on the sesame orange chicken. These are cooling down. They should be ready to cut soon. The rice is cooled, so that is ready to wrap up and put in the freezer. And then here's the other 20 just strawberry only Uncrustables. The meatballs are pretty much cooked. I'm going to take those out in just a second. Those need to start cooling. I have all the taquitos getting frozen, flash frozen, so then I can bag those together. The ham and cheese pocket and pizza pockets are froze. I bagged those up. So we're in good shape. Today, actually, the time changed forward ahead, so it's actually almost 5 o'clock, which it doesn't feel like it, but it's almost 5 o'clock. Because I've been cooking all day, everyone's been kind of snacking and eating. I'm actually not going to make dinner today, so those Greek meatballs, half of them I'm going to put in the fridge for dinner probably tomorrow, and that's when I'm going to make the Mediterranean salad with that. And then I'm going to freeze the rest of them. Sesame orange chicken, same thing. Some will go in the fridge for dinner this week. The rest will go in the freezer for dinner another day. Taquitos will be an easy dinner this week. Yeah, so I just need to finish up a few more things, but there's no more cooking. I can finally get everything cleaned up, organized. Our freezer is stocked, which is so awesome. And then I also have a lot planned, or a lot already pre-done for this week. This is going to be a very busy week. We have a lot going on, so this helps me a ton.
So I wanted to show you how I bag everything up. So the meatballs I'm just putting in freezer Ziplocs. These are half gallon and they are my new favorite size. I actually want to do 3 bags of those, 1 for this week, 2 for the freezer. I have the fried rice all wrapped up, the taquitos all in bags. The leftover bread crust, I'm just going to freeze it and I'll figure out what to do with that at a later date. I got the Uncrustables all labeled and in their bags. The sesame orange chicken is all done. So again, 1 for the freezer, 1 for dinner this week. That is all the stuff I'm leaving out for the fridge this week for our dinners.
Okay, what a day it's been. All right, so what did we accomplish today? We made Greek meatballs, 1 for dinner this week, 1 for the freezer. We made sesame orange chicken, 1 for this week, 1 for the freezer. We made taquitos. We made 30 chicken taquitos that are huge, so 2 is like a serving. That will be dinner this week, and then just extra lunches and snacks. I made 50 plus a few more snickerdoodle cookies, so those are in their cookie dough form and then just need to be baked. I made like 30 to 40 pretzel bites, and I split that into 2, so we have 2 bags of pretzel bites that we can heat up and have as snacks. I made 2 trays of fried rice. One I actually am going to keep in the fridge and eat this week, and then put the other one in the freezer. I made 8 ham and cheese pockets and 8 pizza pockets. I made like 40 peanut butter Cheerio bars, 40 uncrustable sandwiches. So hundreds of items got made today. My freezers are stocked, plus I have a few meals ready for this week, and there was a couple things I didn't get to. Like I have the chuck roast still defrosting to make shredded beef, and I have a whole bunch of tortillas, so I may make some shredded beef taquitos this week too to use up those 2 things. I feel like there might be something else, I don't know, but boy was it a day. I'm so glad I had my cacao bliss this morning from Earth Echo. I'm telling you, it gives me that boost. So if you're looking for something that's not caffeine, that doesn't give you jitters, I have a discount code. Try it out because it tastes good, it's good for you, and it gives you a clear, clean energy that helps me make this possible. Again, this was not an easy day. I would probably only do something like this like maybe every 3 months. There was a lot. I was literally in the kitchen all day long. There were so many dishes, and this is a smaller kitchen than I'm used to, and so trying to like rotate through everything, only 1 oven, only certain freezer spaces to flash freeze stuff. So you can do it, just start small and work your way up. But now that I have all this done, I don't have to think about lunches for the week. Oh, and that too, I made the sausage patties for breakfast sandwiches for the week. So we have English muffins, the cheese slices, and sausage. So sausage McMuffin type sandwiches is what we're having this week too. I forgot, that was like one of the first things I did this morning. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed this crazy freezer meal prep. If there's certain recipes or things or ideas you want me to do in my meal prep, freezer prep, leave those down below in the comments. Make sure you're subscribed, and we'll chat soon. Bye guys.